Perhaps the biggest draw to doing your titles in After Effects rather than in Premiere is the incredibly powerful animation tools. Each text layer has unique properties called text animators that can easily add a new level of dynamics to your project. Here, we'll take a look at a few of those text animators and see a bit of what they're capable of. So in this composition, I've got my background layer and I've got a bit of text there that's just kind of sitting in place. Now, I could certainly animate the opacity and bring them on line by line or layer by layer, but that's kind of boring. Let's go ahead and use text animators to make something interesting happen. So to make that happen, let's select our first layer. Let's twirl it down. And if you don't already have it, enable your switches or your modes by coming over here to columns, switches, and modes. Either one of these will have this in place, and this is what we're looking for. We twirl this down. All these are text animators, different parameters that control the position of our characters, the skew, the rotation. Let's start off with position, for instance. So down here, we see that we have a new text animator. I'm going to rename that position. And under this position parameter, we're now going to move the letters from where they currently are, their home base, and just offset it, maybe over here somewhere. And you're saying, all right, well, that doesn't really do anything. This range selector is really where all the magic happens. What we can do with this range selector is we can tell After Effects to animate on where we are currently starting, our position parameter here, and move it back to where it originally came from. And so now, just by sliding this around, we can keyframe this from start 0% over here maybe to 100 frames. We'll make that 100%. And just like that, we're now animating individual characters one by one, all with 2 keyframes. But it doesn't stop there. Let's go ahead and animate the opacity. This starting point right here is kind of distracting. Let's add another property and we'll look for opacity. And here, instead of altering the position, let's alter the beginning opacity and we'll bring that down to 0. And again, that range selector is in control of all these different things, these parameters that we set here. And from 0 to 100%, that range selector is now going to animate the opacity of our text as well. So you can start to see how this really opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Let's go ahead and take this entire position text animator and let's say we like it, but let's try something else. Let's go ahead and turn this off. This is really cool because now you can start to experiment with different looks. And maybe this time, let's animate just rotation. So this new animator gets populated under our text layer. So let's rename that rotation. And we'll do something similar. Instead, this time we'll set it to -180. And under the range selector, we'll do those same keyframes, 0 to 100% over the course of 100 frames. We'll also add our property selector to include opacity as well. We'll bring that down. And when we rewind, we notice that now we're getting rotation into place along with our opacity. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what happens when we combine them together. We can turn back on our first text animator, and now we're getting both position, rotation, and animation all together for this first line. All with a couple keyframes. Let's go ahead and click this and go up to animation, reveal properties with keyframes. 4 keyframes. How cool is that? Really, really effective. Let's take our second line. And I'm going to animate the position here for this. And here's a animator for position. And let's bring this down, for instance. And we'll do the same thing. We'll animate our start at 0, and over maybe 50 frames instead, we'll go up to 100%. And so now we're starting down from below and we're moving the position in place. But of course, I'm not liking how we can see the starting position. So rather than playing with the opacity this time, let's go ahead and select the layer and create a mask. So we'll move up to where we're all settled into place, and we'll select our rectangle tool and click and drag around the text. All right, so now when we play this back, you'll notice that the text is coming up from nothing, and because we have a mask, we're obscuring that starting point, but it's still animating on character by character. Maybe we don't like character by character. Maybe we want to go to advanced and twirl this down, and instead of character by character, we want to do word by word. Well, certainly we can do that. We have that option to bring up word by word. We can even randomize the order, so we're not going straight from left to right. Now we're bringing up the words in a bit of a random order. So we have all these different properties down here inside the text animators, and this is one of the most fun things to kind of experiment with and come up with different looks. In fact, let's move over to the second composition, And inside of After Effects, it ships with a bunch of presets that allow you to just tag on here and play with and see. So let's try going to Effects and Presets. Under Animation Presets, we'll scroll down to Text, and we have Animate In. And any one of these, let's go ahead and expand this. Fade up and flip. That sounds pretty cool. Let's try that on layer 1. You'll see that it automatically adds a new animator and the keyframes for it. Let's go ahead and preview that. And we're getting creative letterpress popping up into place word by word. I can go down to the animator and say advanced, and I'm pretty sure, yep, based on words is selected. Let's go ahead and just do those characters and see that move one by one. I'm digging that. We can certainly experiment with this and twirl this down. Let's turn off that animator and add another one, maybe something like pop buzzwords. That sounds interesting. Buzzwords. Oh, literally every 15 frames, you say? That's cool. We can play with that. Undo. This is all based on experimentation. There's so much fun to be had here. What's great is that you can certainly plop in one of these presets. Let's do spin in word by word. And you can deconstruct, come down here, twirl this down, look at what the presets are doing with the animators, and kind of deconstruct for yourself how and what each parameter is doing to create these final effects. And then use that knowledge to build on your own, experiment and play with, and come up with your own text animators. And once you find something that you like, come over here to this beginning one and say that we like the way that this letterpress moves off to the side and rotating. Well, now I can certainly take this entire thing. Let's twirl down here for my text, and I'll select my position and rotation animators. And then I can come up over here to animation and save an animation preset. And this is huge. I can just save this as position and rotation. Position rotation. Not too original, but now under my animation presets, I have a user preset, and there it is, position rotation. I can add that to any other parameter that I want. So here in the second composition, let's go ahead and add that to this one. And now we have the same thing happening for our second layer. Because animation is one of After Effects' strong features, it's no surprise that its use as a design tool includes incredible ways to create motion with type. We've only scratched the surface with text animators here, so I encourage you to experiment further and reference other videos in the library that explore this more in depth.